Hi, everybody. Happy Saturday. We are going to discuss a McDonald's data exposure that involves their McHire AI chatbot. So, the short story is that McDonald's McHire chat system, which is provided by a third party vendor, had a default password. So, that password, the login and the password, were actually 12345 6. And this was for a test admin panel. There were two independent researchers who discovered this, and when they found this out, they also discovered a flaw, which is called an IDOR flaw. This is an insecure direct object reference. This flaw allows access to the chat transcripts and the personal data by incrementing or decrementing the lead ID parameter. So the summary is Sam Curry and Ian Carroll are the independent researchers. They discovered the vulnerability in McHire, and again, this is the chatbot job application platform. This vulnerability exposed chats and personal data of job applicants. The impact could have been about 64 million applicants. Paradox.ai is the third-party vendor who is involved in this incident, and McDonald's and Paradox responded quickly and resolved it after they were notified by Sam Curry and Ian Carroll. So who is Ian and who is Sam? They're actually, like I said, they're independent researchers. There are a few sites that explain who they are, and you can do a little bit of research, but I went to reversinglabs.com, and there is a nice interview bio about Sam. And I think one of the cool things that he is doing is he is working on cars and their vulnerabilities, and so he definitely is working with the auto industry and trying to show and demonstrate how vulnerable some of this technology is. And then Ian Carroll is the founder of seats.aero. This is a site that helps people discover their flights, figure out points and miles, and find the best plan to get the most bang for their buck for flights. And so they both are independent researchers, and it sounds like they do a very good job. All right. And then so what we're going to go straight to terms because this is a quick one. So the vulnerability, what is a vulnerability? It's a weakness or flaw in a system that makes it easier for threat actors to infiltrate, disrupt, and destroy. So the vulnerability here is the weak password and a login. And by getting in there, they discovered the next flaw. And so did I pass one? Nope. So what is a data exposure? So I'm calling this a data exposure. It is a data leak too, but a data exposure is unintentional, unauthorized disclosure of sensitive information to individuals who are not authorized to use it. So it's slightly different than a data leak. A data leak is actually it's like a subcategory of a data exposure. It's where sensitive information is unintentionally disclosed, typically through accidental exposure or negligence. So in this case, this information was leaked because of the password and the IDOR. And so IDOR, again, is insecure direct object reference. And so it's a vulnerability that arises when attackers can access or modify objects by manipulating identifiers used in a web application's URLs, or their parameters. It occurs due to missing access control checks, which fail to verify whether a user should be allowed to access specific data. And so I found a really good cheat sheet, and you can go to cheatsheetseries.owasp.org and find it, but the link is right here. So one more time though, what this is if you have a label or an identifier that is 1, 2, 3, 4, and you know what that is. If you put in 1, 2, 3, 5 or 1, 2, 3, 3, and you get to another piece of that web, that kind of is what this is talking about. So who is Paradox.ai? They're an AI company that provide chatbots like Olivia, and they focus on recruiting, and they help applicants and employers connect and stay engaged. Personally identifiable information, PII. So the exposure in a leak is personal information like name, email, address, phone number, stuff like that. So PII refers to any data that can be used to identify a specific individual. This includes information that can be used on its own or in combination with other data to distinguish, to trace, to locate a person's identity. Essentially it's any information that can lead to someone being identified, contacted, and or located. So what are some of the mitigations that we can do for this particular type of incident? Definitely strong credential policies, including no default passwords. And this goes for any passwords for anything. So not just your employee on the front line, everything that uses passwords you should have some kind of strong credentialing policies. You implement server-side authorization checks, decommission and review, audit for legacy and test accounts, get rid of them when you're not using them, that kind of stuff. Regular pen testing, and require that third-party vendors also demonstrate that they are doing their due diligence and that they're following processes and protocols that meet your company's expectations and standards, especially on or because you are using their product. And another thing is the bug bounty program. So this is another example where we had two honest researchers who wanted to help, and so they discovered this. They notified the company. They didn't take advantage of the situation in any illegal manner. They did what they needed to do to demonstrate that it was there, and they notified the appropriate people, and that company and the third-party vendor took care of the challenge. But bug bounty programs help people who can do this that might need a couple dollars to stay afloat, and it gives more motivation for people to do things. Incident reporting, again, this is just for a company that has had problems. Always put this at the end of the slide. If you have an incident and you are a person or a company, you can contact the FBI, you can contact CISA, NSA, and again, if you're in Australia or Canada and New Zealand, they also have ways that you can contact them. It's always important to report anything that happens to your company. These organizations can help. They have resources you do not, and they will help catch the bad guy. Credits. I looked at a few articles here. Bleeping Computer again. I went to Ian Carroll's site. I went to the Paradox site to find out who they were and what they do. I went to the page Reversing Labs to learn a little bit more about Sam Curry. And then I went to the McHire site to see what it was about. And then my AI transparency, I did use Notebook, and I do use Notebook LM to organize information when I do these. And my favorite, not so productive but fun component is I do use Google Gemini in Google Slides to create images for my title slides. And so this is an example of one of them. And so thank you for joining. Hope you have a great Saturday and a nice weekend. Talk to you later. See you later. Bye-bye.